The video that I posted just before this one is from about 3 years ago. And I just rediscovered the clip and realized there was a lot of material from them never released. So I was just making a point about the miracle of birth and how we all get here, and it's what womankind go through. It's a collective experience. Anyone who's a mother out there belongs to this or shares this experience. Now, men also should take I don't say take a position, take a stance, but men should be able to have their own understanding and, you know, be clear, because basically in the 50s of the United States, you could see that men were very ignorant and kept in the dark. You know, it was only like a specialty if you were a male medical doctor. In any case, I have more footage that will be released from that. Today I want to talk about current news, and let's talk about Glenn Beck's recent revelations, how he's putting together all these scandals, all these controversies, all these crimes. And he cites Benghazi Gate, or if you want to call it, the attack on the Benghazi consulate. And he ties it in with the Associated Press being compromised or spied upon or infringed. And he also ties it in with the supposed now ultra protection that's going to be given to the Internal Revenue Service. Okay? So look up Glenn Beck if you want to know the backstory to this, and his backstory to what he's saying. I'm not going to go into all the details. It's not that important for me to parrot what he has to say, but just to use him as a reference point. I have nothing against Glenn Beck per se, and I have nothing against Obama per se. Do I look like Anderson Cooper to you? Now, the point is, Obama, obviously, like all presidents before him, has a policy for the Middle East. How much it's changed in the past 5 years, 6 years, since President Bush II, or prior to him, the other presidents, that is up to question, because I don't think it's changed. That's my opinion. It just evolves over the specifics of whatever needs to be dealt with year by year in terms of what the United States is trying to accomplish. United States hegemony, or the empire, or NATO, or New World Order, if you want to call it that. Now, Glenn Beck should be asking the question as to whether or not Obama is aware of the prophecies and how much he's willing to accept Jesus returning, and whether they know that that's up. If it's up and plenty of people believe in it, zeitgeist movie notwithstanding, or the God who wasn't there, the God who doesn't exist, whatever, notwithstanding, the atheist propaganda. We're talking about Christian propaganda here. And as a side note, or maybe not a side note, the new Pope, Francis, has recently made statements that, to the effect, money is bad. That money is bad. Now, we will assume what he's talking about when he is translated using the term money. Now, if he quoted from the Bible as a reference point, saying that their own Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, had proved a point eloquently in the story where the disciples and the public had questioned Jesus, saying, should we pay taxes? And in fact, should we use money? What is the essence of money? What is going on when we do that? And Jesus, who wouldn't even touch a coin, knowing what happens when you make contact with actual physical money, or when you mentally make contact with fiat currency, plastic, electronic, credit, online banking. He knew that when you make contact with it, it will start to attempt its conquest of your soul. That is the inherent power within this stuff. So he wouldn't even touch it. And he said, let me see it. Show it to me. Show me the money. That's basically where they get that quote from, and they distort it. He said, show me the money. And they took out coins and they showed it to Jesus Christ, Yashua, to some of the more authentic, historic believers, historically aware. Yashua said, whose face is on there? Whose head? Whose likeness? Whose image is being portrayed on there? And they answered, that's Caesar. Now, Caesar being on there means that's who owns the coin. That's who we're paying homage to. That's who we're worshiping when we use money or currency or credit or debt-based fiat. Everything is fiat. Even though it's a coin, it's fiat. If you look at the definition of fiat, look it up. It comes from the Latin and from other sources. Fiat. Fiat just means imaginary. It means it's accepted as having imaginary definition or value. So he said, if that's Caesar on there, then that's Caesar's. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. But that's just half of his statement. The other half, which is truly wisdom, he said, give to the Spirit God, the high God, the highest God, your creator, your maker, your boss, your source. Give to that source what is the source's. I don't like to use the word G-O-D, if you haven't noticed, because G-O-D actually has another root. It's linguistic knowing. Yeshua, Jesus Christ, would never use the word G-O-D, because it's a generic term. Actually is connected with Gott. It is. It's Germanic. So look it up. Because you be worshipping a goat. Some people say I look like a goat, but that anyone that's got a goatee looks like a goat. But anyhow, I got rid of my goatee, but it's going to come back before you know it. That's the nature of hair. Can't fight with it, just accept the nature. That's the way goat made it. Goat made you get a goatee, see? So I'll stop playing with the words. We go to the crux of the matter when the great teacher taught this in the gospel. And he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, or render. They actually give that as the translation, render to. You hardly ever hear that. Do you use that when you're down talking to the bar, or you're talking in the office, or you're talking at home, you use render. Render. Render is not as common as it once was, but the original translation is render. So, render to Caesar what is Caesar's. So, divvy it up and give him the percentage, give it all back. Really, when it comes down to it. He was saying, give it all back, unless you want to have something that's Caesar's. Because if Caesar has something of his in your pocket, he can reach in at any time and take it back. But having said that, the more important point is give to God. What is God's? Render to the Most High, render to, and I don't mean to look up, but that is the heavens where the angels are residing. But it's also within. Where is heaven? That's another passage. Where is heaven? But give to your holiest source, the source where you came from, the Almighty, the one that's in charge of you, your higher power, whatever you want to call it, since we're living in a secular world. Give that to that, render to that what is owned by it. So you've got something. You've got something in your pocket that comes from the source. So give some of that, always give some of that back so it can circulate. The idea of money is that it circulates, and that it circulates properly. It's almost like blood. The blood of the beast is in the money. And if it doesn't circulate, then the beast can't live. It can't move. It can't exist. So the Pope made interesting statements, but he didn't explain what I just explained. I don't think that he would go that far. The Pope Francis just said that money has to be understood. He doesn't want it to rule over the people anymore. He wants it to serve the people. So, in conclusion, I'm going to give a little critique for the Pope, okay? Because you got to put some oomph behind the things that you say. You can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? The holdings and the value, the calculated wealth of the Vatican is beyond. It outweighs. It's more than many of the nations on the planet today. This wealth, these resources that are kept in the hands of the few, the elite of the Catholic Church, the priesthood, the priestly caste, the popes, the hypocrites. Oh, excuse my language. What if some of that value was to be liquidated and put into the hands of the poor, like in programs that they're supposed to be doing if they're going to carry the banner of Jesus Christ? Then you wouldn't have to be going around saying, well, I wish that money didn't rule over people. I wish it can serve people. You care so much about the poor, now do something about it. I don't buy into it, just like Glenn Beck doesn't buy into Obama's line. By the way, the White House just put out a live feed on YouTube. Isn't YouTube wonderful? I didn't watch it. I don't have time. It's not really my concern. My concern is in much higher matters, to where we can solve what's going on here. And I need to hear your comments. I know you have something to say about this. Even if it's in just a few words, take 5 seconds. Thank you. Share this, like it, and make sure you're subscribed, because YouTube is flawed.